Here it is. If part one was about recognizing the shift and part two was about seeing where friction really comes from and how you end that part, then part three is about one thing only. How structure actually gets installed without overwhelm, without rebuilding everything, and without pretending you're starting from zero. Because this is where most people get it wrong. They hear systems and think complexity. They hear structure and think rigidity. They hear AI architecture and imagine ripping everything apart. That fear keeps them stuck. So let me slow this down and ground it. Structure does not mean doing more, it means deciding better. And installation doesn't mean start with tools, it starts with subtraction. Every business that becomes structurally sound goes through the same quiet shift. You stop asking, what else should I add? And you start asking, what decisions should no longer require me? That's the moment leverage begins. Here's what installation actually looks like in the real world. Not all at once, not overnight, not perfectly. It starts with identifying the few points in your business where human attention is being wasted out of habit, not necessity. Places where you're answering the same questions, reviewing the same situations, making the same judgment calls again and again. Those are not leadership moments, they're signals. Signals that a rule, a filter, or a flow should exist. This is why I don't believe in automating everything. Some decisions should stay human, some nuance matter, some judgment is irreplaceable. But most founders dramatically overestimate how much of their day actually requires human intelligence. And under pressure, they cling to control instead of designing it. Real structure doesn't remove you from the business, it puts you exactly where you need it and nowhere else. Installation also doesn't mean rebuilding your entire operation. That's another myth. You don't install structure by burning down the house. You actually install it by reinforcing the low bearing beams. One intake point, one decision flow, one handoff. That's enough to change how the whole system feels. Because once one area becomes calm, you see the contrast, and calm becomes addictive. This is the part nobody talks about. Structure creates emotional relief before it creates profit. That relief is what gives you space to think clearly again. And clarity is what allows AI to work for you instead of around you. The reason so many people bounce off AI isn't because it's complicated. It's because they're trying to layer it on top of unresolved chaos. AI doesn't resolve chaos, it reveals it. So installation has to be humane. It has to respect your energy, your reality, your bandwidth. That's why AI Money Maps isn't about building a perfect system. It's about building the next right layer, a layer that answers one question. What should happen automatically here so I don't have to decide this again? That's it. No grand rebuild, no massive rollout, just deliberate design. And once that mindset clicks, everything changes. You stop feeling behind, you stop chasing trends, you stop reacting to noise. Because instead of asking what's everyone else doing with AI, you're asking what does my system need next? That's a fundamental different posture. It's the posture of someone who isn't trying to survive the future, but shape it. And this is why I've been so intentional about not turning these conversations into how-to videos. Because how-to without context create dependence, and dependence is the opposite of leverage. What I want from the people I work with is not more knowledge, is orientation. So they can make decisions confidently, install structure incrementally, and let AI amplify clarity instead of stress. If you made it through all three parts and you feel steadier instead of hype, that's intentional. Hype burns fast, structure lasts. And if you're at the point where you don't need another tactic, you need a map, then you already know what to do. DM me the words money map. Not because you're late, not because you're behind, but because you're ready to stop improvising and start operating on purpose. The next phase doesn't belong to the loudest voices or the fastest movers. It belongs to the most structurally sound. And structure is something you can build.